Hey guys, Jim Bounds at Motorhome Rehab Ranch. This is the episode where we're going to work on it. This is a Galley overhead cabinet. This is an early style. This does not have any of the space age material that they used to use in most of the GMC's particle board. The early style was built off campus from General Motors at a place called Gemini. They were a conventional RV outfitter, interior outfitter. And the interior of those were built with plywood and wood and glue and staples and stuff like that. And that's what this cabinet is. Now, the later models were made with particle board, glued together, and you had some other problems. The biggest problem you have with these overhead cabinets is water damage. Right? The later models, the particle board would swell up, and there you are. Now, this coach did not have a lot of leaks. It's my coach. It didn't have a lot of leaks, not just because it's mine, but I've done a lot of the rails many years ago, and before that, the coach had been kept inside. So this cabinet was in pretty good shape, right? And again, this is the Galley overhead cabinet. Now, some cabinets are in such bad shape that you'll just have to make a new one. And that's not a big deal because the overhead cabinets, if you take two in the GM floor plans, let me preface, this whole thing is about GM floor plan. Not the Coachman, not the Royale series. I'll kind of throw something in on that, so keep watching. But in the GM floor plan, you take the two rear cabinets and bolt them together, they're exactly the width of the front cabinet over the driver, over the big windows, just behind the driver passenger seats. So there's only three sizes. There's the Galley cabinet, there's the forward cabinet, and there's the bedroom cabinet. Now, you can get them in any section you want. You could have all cabinets, no cabinets, half cabinets, whatever. I'm down to no cabinets in the front. I have a Galley cabinet, but I like the openness I get by having no cabinet up there. Right? If you have to rebuild the cabinet, it's not a big deal because really there's this size. If you get one of these and the length, that's the whole cabinet. So it's not a really hard cabinet if you did have to rebuild it. Right? My series is about how can you do this stuff at home. And the way that I did this cabinet, this is the old style. I'm taking the original cabinet and I'm going to refinish it. All right. Now, in the past, we had laminated it. That's the hardest because then you've got to stick it, then you got to route it and file it and all that. A lot of work. And then when you get down to the corners, the edges and stuff like that, how to finish it off is a real problem. We've done wrapping it with vinyl. It looks okay, but in the end, it just doesn't have the look that you're really looking for. Maybe it does. What I'm going to do here, there are two things having to do with finishing a cabinet or wall or anything. You got the color, and you have the texture. Okay? Now, a lot of folks have gone into the coach and painted the interior. And when you look at it at an angle, you see the old vinyl, you see the wood grain vinyl and all this stuff. So they got the color, but they didn't get a texture because the texture was of the other material. Now, if you are gonna refinish it, you wanna think about the color and the texture. Now, if you have a beautiful wood grain finish and somebody put a hole through the middle of it, screw hole, how are you going to fix that? You could fix the surface. You might even be able to paint it a color, but it won't be the texture, it won't be the grain. So when you're redoing something, you want to think about that. Color and texture. Now in this case, what I did with this thing, the shape was in good shape. I put a platform here instead of the stove vent because originally this thing had a microwave in here and had the stove vent hung underneath. Well, I'm going to get rid of the stove vent entirely, and I've selected a microwave, and you look at the pictures at the bottom, you'll see it. It's it's called a nostalgia microwave that is shallow. It's shallow enough that I can cut this out right here and it will come to the face. Now, no, it's not big. No, it's not a convection and all this stuff. No, it's just a microwave, because my coach, there's a lot of Taco Bells out there. I would imagine that the most thing that I would ever want to put in a microwave would be probably a cup of coffee, or, you know, one of those egg muffin type things. So a small microwave for me is just fine. And if I can hug it in, because the big problem with microwaves and convection combinations, and the smallest one I've ever found, by the way, is a Cuisinart CMW 123 is the part number. It will almost fit, but not really. We're not as interested in food preparation as we are just having a small microwave. So that's what's going to fit in here. So I'm going to cut this thing down a little bit in favor of better fit. Now, the color that I've got, if you remember, I'll have a couple of pictures below of what the Galley looks like. It's that tin I picked up at Home Depot. It's the tin type of stamped tin that you'd see in, you know, 1900s in the ceilings. The Galley is done with that, and white accents. So this is going to be white, appliance white, gloss protective enamel, superior coverage and durability. You can call it appliance enamel or white gloss white enamel. That's what you want for a kitchen. So this will make the color. But what are we going to do about the texture? Because in this cabinet, there's all these pieces of wood and all this stuff. How can we give it a uniform texture is the question. Well, how about this? Home Depot again, wall texture, spray and shoot. When we had co-op going, what we would do is buy bed liner, mix it in the gun, that's epoxy, and we would shoot the cabinets. Real nice, covered everything. You can get it down to 80 grit if you want. Now the pictures below are of me preparing this thing. And what I used was 220. The holes, you'll see I covered them with body filler, because we can get rid of all the holes, because we're going to retexture it. And the texture is going to be knockdown, just like you see in a house. And this is a small area. I bought 2 of these. I used both of these on this to give the cabinet a new texture. And then I bought 2 cans of this appliance enamel to give it the right color. So that's the idea. I'm going to shoot the end part of this, and then on the next video, I'll have this thing up in place, and you'll see what it looks like. All right. Somebody says, "Oh, he's using a rattle can. That's not professional." Well, the problem is, I do have aero here, and I could get a gun and get this and that, but I'm doing such a small part of it, a small section, that being all prepared like that, and they're making some pretty good rattle can stuff. This is, again, appliance enamel. It's just a white. Now, I've already shot the inside of it. This part right here, let me show you. Right down here. I've got a cover here. This is where wires go in here for the lights. And I'll have another wire chase underneath for that. But this panel is made to go right on here like that. And we'll screw it in. You can see it needs to get a little bit more paint on it. All right, so what we're gonna do here, and you guys sit back here and watch, don't get any of it on you. I'm gonna finish this thing off, the front of it. Now, this tape's on here because that's gonna be ended up blackout. And rather than blowing paint on it, let's just protect it, and then I'll come back when it's all over and shoot that with trim black. All right, now I've already shot 1 can all up in here. What I'm doing now, again, this is called foofing. You don't just, that doesn't work. You want to get little spots, short, And then about every 30 to 45 seconds, you want to shake it. The aerosol paint is a lot thinner than regular paint. So, hang on, let's see. Yeah, it's a lot thinner. So you've got to keep it shook up. Remember, it's pulling from the bottom. Down here. It's good that the knockdown was white, so it makes this white cover more. Let's get it up here. Now, when you're shooting paint, you got to shoot a couple of different angles because this knockdown has body to it. If you don't give it a couple of angles, you'll have some dead spots. You shoot this way, that way, and you foof it. Short shots. See what's happening? All right. Go back over it, look any spots that may be thin because you want this to be nice, gloss, bright white. Covers up all the old holes. You get a nice textured finish. Does that make sense? All right, now, the camera girl today, just me. So this cabinet I've got cut out for the microwave here. I've got the panels made that will cover it. On the bottom now, we're painting also this area. This will be over the sink. Going to take a couple of coats. Again, you want to, when you're foofing like this, you want to get a lot of thin coats. I don't know if that word's in the dictionary or not. They make a lot of really nice aerosols to make it easy to do small jobs like this. This is not a big job. This is a small job. Right here, I'm going to have a panel that slides in right here. It'll have some of the tin on it from the kitchen, so it'll tie in, and I'll have the lights here. The two things that were here before were lights and the blower. Well, we're gonna detract the blower. It just didn't fit. Got a little bit of run here. You can see I got it a little bit tight, but that's okay. It's a nice, even texture. A nice, even color. Somebody says, wow, Jim, you're working on a glass table. What's the big deal with that? Well, I can scrape it and it'll all come up. I'm not beating on it with a hammer, if you notice. And it is what I have. So it looks like. All right, well, if you're going to refinish your overhead cabinets, this is a good way to do it. You retexture it and recolor it. As it dries, you might come back once or twice, different angle. There we go. All right, so this type of refinish is not complete. And again, if you want, now if you have a Coachman or a Royale series, or Avion or Norris, their overheads are totally different. You may have to rebuild those and use the old pieces just like we talked about here. It may be these cabinets are in the way in the front. When I put mine in, you'll see I took both the front cabinets and took them out. I'm not going to be traveling cross country. If I do, well, I'll bring a trailer or a tow car and I'll stuff that full of stuff. But I like the inside of the coach where it feels really, really open. I don't know how you feel about it. All right, well, the next video, I'll have this in place and we'll be outfitted, okay? Thanks for coming. Hit like and all that stuff. Come ranch hand and feel a part of it. Thanks. We'll talk to you later.